No family, no friends, no home. An orphan at the age of 6, he doesn't remember his original childhood, his parents, even what planet he was from. He knows he had all of that, but can't seem to form the memories. Brian only remembers one thing from his initial childhood. He was in a building with a bunch of other children and some adults walking about with paperwork in hand. He was approached by a woman in a black outfit, and she told him he could get revenge on the Covenant for taking his home from him. He remembers agreeing, and that's where Brian's story began. Unlike his childhood, he remembers many moments from his training in Gamma Company of the Spartan 3 program. As his training became his new childhood. During training, Brian was picked on by the other kids for being shy and introverted, even though he was bigger and taller than most of the other kids at only age 6. He was still insecure about himself. He tried his best to keep to himself for the most part, but Brian had quite a kind soul. He had that drive to make friends, comrades, and became strong enough to prove his worth. Brian spent much of his early years trying to be social. His superiors instilled that same lesson of teamwork and camaraderie among the Spartan 3s, just like the 2s, but at times, Brian would feel like an outcast, of course. His social life would vary at times, causing him to revert to his introverted ways. In his later years of training, Brian would spend most of his time in the firing range, testing out multiple weapons to see which one he liked the most, even bothering his superiors to let him into the range in the dead of night because he would be obsessed with a certain gun he trained with that day. His overall training went very well, and the augmentations went just as smooth. Gamma Company was a bit special, though, as they were trained by other Spartans, one former Spartan 2 in particular, Kurt Ambrose. Kurt set out to make sure this set of Spartans could actually survive against the Covenant. Though he tried to keep it a secret, Oni caught on pretty quick that he was giving the trainees illegal enhancements to ensure their survival. The main drug, known as 009762-00, enhanced aggression, strength, endurance, and tolerance to injuries. If this wasn't paired with the other 2 drugs they were given, the Spartan 3s would fall into an immense rage, attacking friend and foe. This made them a liability in most people's eyes, but I'll admit, they could get the job done. Brian remembers finally feeling that a sense of camaraderie when the other kids came to respect and even look up to him. They came to respect him for his particular skill at surviving against impossible odds, even for a Spartan trainee. Here's one example I've been given. Brian went to sleep in his bed one night, and the next place he woke up was at the peak of an icy mountain with no food, the few supplies his superiors left him, and a piece of paper telling him what direction from that position his rendezvous point was. This mountain's height could be compared to Annapurna on Earth, being it was reportedly 8,098 meters tall. He started his journey at 0600 and made it to the base of the mountain by 1000. His follow reports. He was walking at the base of the mountain like he just came back from a vacation. Not a care in the world, just another day for him. Completely unfazed by the test that he was put into, he just went with the flow. He made the 15-mile trek to his rendezvous, which would normally take over 4 hours, in half the time, due to his immense speed. He got back to the base just in time to encounter the other trainees heading to lunch. And they hadn't even known he left the base. The other trainees also found respect in Brian because he was a genuine team player. Now, say he was on a mission with a squad, he would make sure that everyone in his squad made it to the rendezvous at the cost of his own health. He was never afraid to push into battle, even when he shouldn't, and then push the limits of his survivability, especially for his comrades. Somehow, he would win fights he shouldn't, and always narrowly avoid what should be certain death, even for a Spartan. And I am sure you can guess who also noticed this skill. His superiors, Kurt and the now famous SEPO Franklin Mendez, were already pulling special trainees aside, as they didn't think these Spartans should be wasted on suicide missions. His superiors believed in his leadership skills and became confident throughout the duration of the training that he would become one of the best. However, Oni kept a very close eye on Brian as well. They knew he was going to be an extremely helpful asset in their goals. So, due to some mix of talent and fate, Brian would be spared from Gamma Company's initial intention of being more cannon fodder in the war. Brian came to be proud to graduate alongside his other trainees, and the other trainees were proud to graduate along someone that they saw so much hope in. Someone that had the potential to lead an army into battle and to keep the morale up, even when they were backed against a wall. He succeeded in his goal of making friends in his training and was on his way to prove what he could do against the Covenant. The friendships and pride Brian had built would soon be stripped from him, though. Kurt and Mendez may have spared Brian from his original fate, but Oni pulled him for their own program. Though all Spartan 2s and 3s fell under Oni already, they essentially kidnapped him from Kurt and Mendez. I'm sure Kurt and Mendez weren't too happy about the choice, but their hands were tied. Now, as far as we can tell, this program was the same one they were trying to put William through. My fellow Spartans and I have come to call it the Boy Scout program, though we still aren't sure what its official name is. Like William, they wanted to turn Brian into a machine that would obey every order they gave him. Unlike William, Brian had already become charismatic and far more human than William was. Brian got along with anyone he met, a kind soul to his superiors and his subordinates. No matter where he went, he was making friends and taking care of others. Oni wasn't the biggest fan of this and set out to fix Brian as they saw fit. Oni has plenty of tricks and tactics to get what they want, and would quickly began to scheme and plan for Brian's transformation. The days leading up to Brian's deployment, he would be given a new set of Gungnir armor. This was due to his frankly unhealthy obsession with the M6G GNR, better known as the Spartan laser. Since the Gungnir armor and the Spartan laser were essentially made for each other during their developments, Oni thought all of that, paired with the Brian's skills, was bound to cause massive devastation to the Covenant. Just what humanity needed, and what Oni was counting on.